Okay, so this is just a quick little snippet video to just highlight different ways that you can connect to GitHub or any other kind of server like this that you need to have some kind of secret way to do it. So I just want to jump in quick and show you what I'm talking about. Here's my GitHub. So let's just go to a repository. I was filling this in recently. So let's have a look. So let's say you will recognize what I'm talking about from here. When you go to clone something, often, if you've just started out, you might have HTTPS, and then in the more recent years, GitHub actually went as far to say, we might not do this anymore. Now, I'm quite surprised they said that, and I don't know if I'm wrong or not, but they seem to have backtracked on that. But they were pushing people to say SSH only. You start to ask yourself, what is this SSH? Well, it is secure shell. It's another way to go about trying to connect your, let's try and get this in screen here. So you've got your computer and you've got online there, and you want those to be able to connect, and it's trying to come up with a way that does this so that it's secure. Sounds obvious, you always want that to be the case. So the method this uses is it kind of gives out encryption, so it gets a password, a way to do this, sends this out, you'll go up to GitHub and put a public one there, a public key, so it's accessible there, and this will mean that anything that gets sent will get encrypted with that and to see if a message. Now, you will have on your computer another file. It's an encryption. GitHub, in this case, they've got this little book that tells them what you need to do with the password. You've got it, but no one in between will have your secret key to be able to do this. Okay, so there is more to that, and maybe I have messed it up slightly, oversimplified, but that's the key thing we're trying to look at there. So getting back to this, so rather than doing this one, where you have to enter your email address, etc. We're now doing this, and you can see my particular one, GitHub, Joseph C. Lander, my username, and then it just puts the repo there. Let's start to think, well, how on earth do you set that up? What I want to try and do, first of all, a couple of things. So if we go here, this is in my personal account. You would need to do the same. You go to settings. You can see I've got two set up. I've got two machines that I get into GitHub through. All you would do is try and set up one of these pairs of passwords. Let's just see where you can get that information. So generating SSH keys. I've got this video I'll try and show you, but obviously you're not going to remember all of these keys, so we need to go and check that out. Scrolling down, passphrases, that's adding yet another layer. Let's leave that for now. And that's quite easy to do. Generating a new key. What you'll find mostly, and again, I do want to specify, I am on a Mac here, and it may be slightly different, but there are extra instructions for those. So it says open your terminal, paste the following in with your email address, so that because that's how you connect with GitHub. That's how they'll recognize you. It's really, at the end of the day, this C just stands for comment. You could technically throw anything there, but it's a reference point that we've made already with GitHub, so they appreciate that's how it was a good way to do it. So this bit might seem quite straightforward. You'd think, okay, well, yes, SSH keygen. Makes sense that I want to generate some keys. Great. T. So now this is starting to refer to this part. Now, if we look further down, it is the hashing algorithm. It's how encrypted this is going to be. You can actually just type SSH keygen and it will just automatically do one that is called RSA. As time goes by, computers get quicker, and it's going to be more and more likely that something's going to be there that can crack those codes. So they just improve it each time and make it larger and larger, harder and harder to crack. At the end of the day, GitHub would like you to use one of the most recent ones, and it's easy to do. So that's the way to go. Before you even do that, to be perfectly honest, you want to see if by chance lots of things we do on the computer that we do and don't really know what we're doing, we just copy paste off Stack Overflow, and then later on don't realize what we really did. What we're going to do, go to the terminal and see if we have any of those in the first place. So I'm in the blank terminal here. Let's just first of all see, what do I have in my home folder? I've got lots of stuff. So notice I did ls with a -a there. So that shows all the hidden files as well. But let's see, well, what one, if I was guessing what thing would be most useful, well, we've got one here, .ssh. So the dot just means it's hidden. Let's have a look in that, SSH. Right, and see what we've got in there. A config file. I've got one of these ID ed25519 files. And another one, but the other one says .pub. Now, I didn't see this when I was learning this. I didn't see this as, I couldn't tell which was which. So pub is for public. This is what we need to remember. This is the one that GitHub's going to ask for. Let's just make one. Let's use what they said. So SSH keygen, that Okay, so your email, so let's keep it as your email, so we're not going to use this. And I'm actually going to just make this one RSA. And the reason I'm doing that is just on the off chance that it gets labeled the exact same as what I've got here, and then I can't, and then I can't figure out which one's mine. So let's see what happens when we do that. Okay, so enter a file to which to save that, which basically is saying ID RSA. So, okay, so that's saying like this thing, and it's also saying it's going to put it in this folder. So I just say, yeah, that's great. Empty for no passphrase. That sounds great. Empty again. And then we get this weird little diagram that they do. Let's have a look. So it's what was this thing? Your identification has been saved in there. Your public key. This is a reminder that you'll skim past normally and not know what's going on. Got your ID and the public one. This email address, I've got that. Just see what actually happens there. There we go. So we've now got an ID RSA and an ID RSA pub. Now, because we're not actually going to use this, let's open one. If I do cat ID, I wouldn't do this with my one up here. If I did this with that one there, I'm basically telling the internet what my secret key is to go across my work. Let's do that. Absolute gobbledygook. Okay, you don't need to know what all of that is, but this sits on your end. Okay? ID RSA pub. Let's see what this one is this time. Cat. Well, I could just do that. What would happen is now with this code, this is the public one, this is the thing that GitHub is going to ask for. Now, you would like to think that this is straightforward. Great, done. We just push that up. Let's have a look. What else are we being asked to do? So, yes, you've created your key, adding your SSH key to the SSH agent. So this is what I'm trying to get at. So you'd like to think that that's done, but actually it needs to get kind of saved in the background. Again, oversimplifying, someone else will understand a little bit more about what system's going on. Push that on and you'll get some feedback similar to that. Notice that eval SSH agent. So you might have seen this eval before if you've been trying to set things up with the command line with your path. Not sure whether you'll know about that, but this is something it will get, so that it will just run some code, run your SSH agent, look through and attach this so that this is attached somewhere so it knows to look for it. So depending on your environment, different commands, not it's so important here. Okay, so for those on Mac, later than this, so this is what I had to do. So it says check that you've got SSH config file. Do you really need that? You can go and have a look. So as I said, you just did ls, had a look. I have a config file, and if you don't, then as it says, touch. Well, if I'm already in SSH folder, I just do touch config, and there we are. So it will say open it. It says modify your file. If I open my config, so cat config, you'll see mine is almost the same. Let's have a look what the difference is. So click back here, copy paste this. So I'll talk about this bit in a minute. It's basically a wildcard. Just says, hey, if you're asked, here's what you do. Add keys to the to the agent. Yes, so that's what it's going to do. Use keychain. Now they've got yes. Now that's really if you've got that passphrase that we missed out, so I wasn't interested. And identity file. So we named our file with this bit. All it's saying is when the computer and GitHub are trying to talk to each other, your computer is going to say to itself, okay, right, go here. I've got all these keys. Now we've only got one, but well, let's talk about this then. So I've been exploring already the thought that right now I've got my personal computer, my personal stuff, and I'm sending this up to GitHub. Now in the future, if I work for a company that wants me to not use that, but use another email address and import to their stuff, I do not want to be using, and they definitely don't want me to be using the same password key. So I'd have to create a separate one. Your issue there, you have two different email addresses, and that's fine. That's kind of internal to it. What will end up happening though is say that they're both still named ID by this, and that's when you want to change. Then you would change this from a wildcard. You change it to potentially your email address, and then you just put in which of the files you do. Now, obviously, you can see you would want to rename that something else, but again, skip past this bit at this stage. If you're new to it, your main concern is, can I just get up and running? I didn't need the keychain bit, so I got rid of that part, and I'll just highlight that again. So mine, as you can see, that's what mine says. It just has that, and there we go. All right. So now everything should be good that end. You've got your key, and so let's just back to here. What I do, I now want to create that connection with my SSH key to GitHub. New SSH key, title, new key, authentication key is fine. Now in here, the key itself begins with SSH, RSA, this thing, all of these. Ours is more like this one. So what I would do, I'd go in here. Now obviously I've already done that, but now quick way to get to this file, the public one. Remember, it is the public one. You're going to a public site. You want to put your public key there. This one is your private one, the one that only you know. Okay, so that one we don't want to look at. So this one, that's what we want to look at. We want to copy that. So cat and that, and we get to have a look at that public file. I can copy all of that. Just Control C, you haven't seen there. Come here and boom, there we go. I'm done. And obviously then I'd add SSH key. I don't want to do that right now for obvious reasons because I've already got that. So let's just go back, and there we are. And now what will happen is the next time that you are going to go to upload or work with GitHub, let's go to this one. And now what that will mean is rather than you having the HTTPS, you'll have a more secure way of connecting, which is this one. Let's just try and make a new repository just to highlight what's going on. My SSH tests, that'll do. Of course, that's available. Okay, we'll create that. There we go. And just, I wanted to show you this screen. So before you would have come up and it would have said HTTPS, but now we can go onto SSH and you can see the difference now. The reason I wanted to show you it is when you are adding your remotes here. So connecting in, let's see the difference. So we're looking at this line here. HTTPS, that's how it connects to GitHub. SSH, it's this one. Just an aside, again, if that was enough for you and you're there, great, you can go. Otherwise, if what I was talking about with having maybe multiple email addresses, multiple places you need to connect, all of a sudden this bit, when you rename it, could become important. GitHub will always just use your username here, my Joseph C. Landerpart. It will just start with git@github.com. Now that, if we go back to the config, that is where this bit comes in. What happens at the moment when it connects, it will look at that asterisk and go, all right, anything, this is what we do. We go to that file. But if you have more than one set of keys, then you've got to name them something different. And that's where the issues come in. That's where you'll need to then start thinking, I don't want to have to connect with a different name each time. So you'll need to think about that in the future. Hopefully that's demystified that slightly. Appreciate this is a bit involved what I'm talking about, but I felt that when I've gone through lots of tutorials, there's a lot of assumptions about what I might or might not already know. For example, working with the command line, knowing what SSH is in the first place, knowing what dot files are, knowing how to access those dot files, okay, knowing why you would do it in the first place, knowing the difference between the fact that you have a secret one that you do not want to show people. I didn't know that. I tried to put my secret one in there the first time. Now knowing that that's the public one, knowing that everybody can access the public one, and that is okay. That is well, really, that's the point, that they've got a key, that they've got a little encryption their end, and if you've done it correctly, theirs will give the right answer as well. This known hosts, I shouldn't worry about that too much. I would leave that well alone. Okay, and there we go. And just, yes, you put in this config file and you think, I really don't know what that's for, and I've always felt, if you don't know what it's about, then how would you know if you've altered it accidentally, whether that was a bad thing or not, or how worrying it is to change this thing? So I think that, again, just makes you think it is literally just a way for your computer to go, oh, that's the key I need to use. Thank you. That's all you've got. All right. So I think that's everything covered. You should be good to now always connect with SSH rather than HTTPS. Okay. Good stuff. Bye.